It's those kinds of things that just hit organizations these days that are unexpected, and now how do you respond? In this video, I'm going to try to answer the question, what do I do if I get handed something unexpected and I need a lot of people to collaborate really fast? Or what if I have to shut down my office because there was just a lithium-ion battery fire in the building next to me, and there's toxic fumes all over, and they're evacuating us within a mile. We all got to work from home for the next 2 months. When COVID hit, the Department of Defense was put in a very different situation, especially up in the headquarters area near the Pentagon and in the Northern Virginia area. Typically people would go to work and they would work out of DoD facilities that were scattered all throughout the National Capital Region, but all of a sudden they had to stay home. And how do they continue to be productive? When they're used to working together, where they can talk to one another, they can jump in a conference room, they can look over each other's shoulder and see what the other person's doing and collaborate on things. Although they've had the collaborative tools in the past, they've never really used them because it's just not as convenient in most people's minds as if you're sitting together and looking over the other person's shoulder to see what they're doing, or if you're in a conference room all talking. I would submit that it's actually more productive in most cases for you to not be in those environments, because in those environments you're restricted to one keyboard and one screen, and whoever is trying to fumble their fingers across that keyboard, and we all know that scenario where you're sitting there and the guy's trying to stroke out a word and we're struggling to get it done, right? So you don't have to deal with that in web conferences, in Teams meetings where you're screen sharing. If you've got something up that you want to show, you're showing it to everybody, and they don't have to look over your screen. They're looking at theirs and they're seeing it just like it's on their screen. People can take the opportunity in this environment to work on other things while something's going on in the meeting that doesn't really affect them. If they're stuck in the conference room and Bob and Joe are talking about something that has no value to the others, they're all stuck waiting for that sidebar conversation to end. That doesn't have to happen when you're in these virtual meetings, right? You can go and be productive while those sidebars happen on other things. So what we were able to show the Department of Defense very quickly when we entered into the COVID environment was there was this Teams environment, this collaborative virtual remote environment that was quickly stood up. And people didn't understand how to use the tools. They didn't understand the best practices. They didn't understand how to organize their Teams channels and the menus at the top to keep people productive and organized in a priority approach, the menu options, so they could click on them and get to whatever website or report and co-author it, or whatever briefing that they were going to give as a monthly update, and make sure all the slides were right and each person had theirs ready to go, or run the task list, right, and make sure all the updates were there on the status and the status details of each task, and that it was filtered for the director so he didn't have to look at all the stuff that he didn't care about, but the priority stuff that the government lead wanted them to see in the meeting with the ACES was ready to go and filtered for just that stuff. And if, oh, by the way, the director wanted to go in there and look at stuff and find out what's on track, what's not, you've got the standard stoplights in there that show, hey, this stuff's red, and that means that we need somebody at the general officer or SES level to look at this thing. It's this problem we can't solve at the 06 level or below. If it's yellow, we probably got it at the 06 level, and if it's green, if there's an issue, the action officers can handle it. So there's all these kinds of great best practices that we rolled into these Teams environments immediately for the department to use in the DoD CIO and other areas, and they found very quickly a level of productivity they'd never experienced before in the office. And so because of this, now they're using this environment almost regularly. Even though they could still lean over their shoulder, they're still doing the Teams meetings. So there's ways that we can help organizations if you end up in a situation where you need a little coaching or a little help on how to get productive in this type of a virtual environment, in the Microsoft DoD 365 cloud for the Department of Defense, or in the commercial cloud for other commercial organizations. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or need any help.